Hi, I am Rob Handy, the Chief of Police for the Huntington Beach Police Department. We are sharing this community briefing to provide information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred in September of 2017. The reason we are releasing this video now is due to a 2019 change in the law, which makes this information available to the public.
Well, I flat out disagree with that, Chief. Those records were available January 2nd, 2019. It's now mid-August. Nice try.
Prior to the new law, we were prohibited from releasing our investigation. Because this incident garnered a lot of public attention, we want to make sure that the public has the complete story, not just a fragment of it, like which was released initially in a private video that was posted to the public on social media.
I gotta admit, the chief using the word fragment in reference to my documentary is pretty insulting. It really is. You spend 2 years on this stuff, and you look into things, and you look into it, and you look into it. There's nothing fragmented about my documentary. What's fragmented is how the chief presents things. I want you to notice they don't mention Esparza's name throughout this whole video, and they haven't yet. They won't. They can't.
The briefing you're about to see will include body-worn camera and cell phone video, as well as other relevant information to provide a better understanding of what occurred. In this case, Dylan Tabares, a 27-year-old man.
This is Dylan Tabares. They like to take the crappiest picture they can and plaster it all over. He's good at this. I don't like it, but he's good at it.
Violently fought with and attempted to disarm one of our police officers outside of a 7-Eleven convenience market here in Huntington Beach. Tabares had a long history of drug abuse and violence, including assault on police officers. In fact, Tabares had been released from prison only 8 days before the shooting for battery with serious bodily injury in the assault of a fast food restaurant employee. A warrant had already been issued for Tabares' arrest because he had not reported to his parole officer.
Now, we all know that neither Esparza or the chief were aware of that warrant yet. Maybe they were. Maybe they were tracking him. I don't think so now. I think the chief is scrambling for position and trying to figure out how to get out of this. Happens every time. Don't know why it does that. But anyway, what the chief just said was not true. And he's trying to paint a picture. I want you guys to be aware of this. This whole video that the chief and this Heidi put out is all about Tabares. Has nothing to do with the issue of PTSD in the police departments. You have evidence here, guys, and you're not using it. Use it wisely.
Officer when he was released from prison as required. It was later discovered that 3 days before the officer-involved shooting, Tabares had beat to death.
I want you to pay very close attention to what the chief just said. He said Tabares beat to death
an 80-year-old man named Richard Darlin, a man who had tried to help Tabares in the past. Tabares using his hands, feet, and a stick.
I want you to listen carefully to the chief's words. He says Tabares used his
hands, feet, and a stick.
Hands, his feet, and a stick. There was no stick. There was no stick until I mentioned there was no marks on Tabares' knuckles. All of a sudden a stick appears. I'm amazed by this. I truly am.
Just after 5 o'clock, this is how light it was outside. We're on a very, very busy street. I'm told by a neighbor that neighborhood kids were playing out front behind me on the lawn, and just beyond it, a man at his front door was brutally beaten.
He's got this big water right there. It's a lot of blood.
Servando Barella found his longtime Huntington Beach neighbor, a man in his 70s named Richard, unconscious just after 5 o'clock Tuesday night. Barella says Richard had been beaten by an unknown attacker right at his front door.
I think somebody knocked the door in. he opened the door, punched him, put him on the ground, and started kicking.
Did you hear that man say anything about a stick? I didn't. He's the only witness. I think he would have mentioned a stick. He did not.
Broke Darlin's back, his neck, fractured his skull, punctured his brain, caused broken ribs, and serious injuries to both of his eyes. The officer-involved shooting was subject to 4 independent investigations by 3 entities: the Huntington Beach Police Department.
I love how the chief says there were 4 separate investigations. Orange County's been pulling this for decades. They want to keep it under the bubble. They want to keep it police departments, sheriff's department, DA, and they pretend that it's all separate. It is not separate. It's not separate when everybody's in everybody else's face, and that's not separate. So there's nothing separate about this investigation. It's your typical put it under the rug, Orange County. Let's pretend it really didn't happen. Oh, it's a shame. Let's just let it go and get on with our business of, well, putting the ideology ahead of human life.
The Orange County Sheriff Coroner Department, and the Orange County District Attorney's Office. These investigations found that the officer acted within the law and our department policies, and that his actions were reasonable. A word of caution. The images and the information you're about to see are graphic and may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
I'm Angela Bennett, Huntington Beach Police Department's Public Information Officer. Around 9:30 a.m. on September 22, 2017, the officer was in the area of Springdale and Edinger conducting area checks in response to recent criminal activity when he noticed a man who appeared to be under the influence of drugs near the 7-Eleven. The officer attempted to contact the man, who was later identified as Tabaras, but Tabaras started to walk away. Then, when the officer attempted to detain him, Tabaras spun around and charged the officer. As you'll see in the video, the officer backed away, drew his taser and fired it, but it was ineffective. Tabaras pulled the taser darts out of his body and continued to advance.
Hey, junior detectives, look very closely at what you see and listen to her words very carefully. See what you come up with.
As you'll see in the video, the officer backed away, drew his taser and fired it, but it was ineffective. Tabaras pulled the taser darts out of his body and continued to advance toward the officer.
Did you see the 3 overlapping videos? Slowed up a little bit so it makes it look like Esparza was trying to de-escalate, when in fact he just ran around, fired his taser, then began walking backwards, just like when he fired all his shots, except the last one, then gave a command. I don't think that's in the policies and procedures. I just don't. Heidi and the chief failed to mention is that the taser Esparza utilized did not work. It failed. How and why, I don't know. It just failed. I think one of the darts hit him and the other one didn't. I don't know. It just failed. And Tabaras pulled the dart out and went after Esparza.
Toward the officer. You'll see Tabaras then punch the officer in the side of the head, knocking his sunglasses off his face. One witness said Tabaras seemed to have, quote, super strength, unquote, and that it looked like the officer's life was in danger. While on the ground, the officer felt Tabaras grabbing his gun and removing some.
I would love to have superhuman strength. This is Esparza on top of Dylan Tabaras. So I'm thinking to myself, boy, for him to take Dylan Tabaras down and be on top of him, and Tabaras has superhuman strength, I'm thinking to myself that Esparza must have super duper human strength. Is that what she's saying? Thank you, Heidi. There it is again. Superhuman strength. Still trying to sell it. I want to find out if that witness that's made that statement was solicited for that statement. Because I believe he was.
And that it looked like the officer's life was in danger. While on the ground, the officer felt Tabarez grabbing his gun and removing something from his body. The officer broke free and saw Tabarez holding something in his right hand, which the officer feared could be his backup gun or his knife. Tabarez made an overt movement with the object in his hand, and that's when the shooting occurred.
And that his actions were reasonable. A word of caution. The images and the information you're about to see are graphic and may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
You're going to love this.
I'm Angela Bennett, Huntington Beach Police Department's Public Information Officer. Around 9:30 a.m. on September 22, 2017, the officer was in the area of Springdale and Edinger conducting area checks in response to recent criminal activity when he noticed a man who appeared to be under the influence of drugs near the 7-Eleven.
Really? You saw a man under the influence of drugs by a 7-Eleven? God, that's odd. I've never seen anybody under the influence of drugs by a 7-Eleven. Have you folks? Never have I seen that. I'm being sarcastic. This is bullshit. And she knows it's bullshit. Eric Esparza watched the video.
The officer attempted to contact the man, who was later identified as Tabarez.
This is the point I'm trying to make, folks. Ultimately, they did not know who he was. That could have been your son or mine. And people want to know why I did this.
But Tabarez started to walk away. Then, when the officer attempted to detain him, Tabarez spun around.
Oh my God, is this where he suddenly got his Bruce Lee superhuman strength? Did he do a pirouette? No, he didn't even move. He was walking straight forward, made a left turn. Esparza jumped in front of him, fired his taser immediately because you could see the string hanging down, and then he started de-escalating. Well, I just don't like her lying like this. Sorry, not gonna let her do it.
And charged the officer. As you'll see in the video, the officer backed away, drew his taser and fired it, but it was ineffective. Tabarez pulled the taser darts out of his body and continued to advance toward the officer. You'll see Tabarez then punch the officer in the side of the head.
You know, the more I watch this video of their video, it's like each time I watch it, I see something else. And when she's describing Esparza backing up, there's actually 3 videos there, guys. They kind of overlap. If you pay attention, they overlap, so it makes it look like it's a real long effort on Esparza's part on de-escalation. I'm telling you, this bullshit is just, oh my God. Watch carefully. You'll see 3 different videos right there, and you'll see Esparza fired right away as Tabarez came around the corner.
But it was ineffective. Tabarez pulled the taser darts out of his body and continued to advance toward the officer. You'll see Tabarez then punch the officer in the side of the head, knocking his sunglasses off his face. One witness said Tabarez seemed to have, quote, super strength.
There it is again. Superhuman strength. Here we go with the superhuman strength bullshit one more time. I'm surprised they really tried to sell this to you one more time. I want you to watch this video right after she says superhuman strength. I'm just going to ask you a question. Who's on top throwing blows? That's Esparza. He must have superhuman strength. Heidi?
Unquote, and that it looked like the officer's life was in danger. While on the ground, the officer felt Tabarez grabbing his gun and removing something from his body. The officer broke free and saw Tabarez holding something in his right hand, which the officer feared could be his backup gun or his knife.
You will hear that term quite often. Officer feared for his life. These are mantras. This is what he tried to grab my gun. Exigent circumstances. I mean, it's all part of the deal. It's all part of the charade, and if you buy into it, you buy into it. That's fine. He feared for his life. Why is he doing what he's doing? Officer safety. You hear that term a lot. I think you hear it too much. Because I think it's citizen safety that you should be thinking about first. Isn't that why you do what you do? That's my thoughts on it. We lost a CHP officer in Southern California this week. Brave man, fought it out, gun to gun, and helped take down a vicious criminal. Gave his life for that. I acknowledge that. That's a peace officer. That's a police officer. There's a gun out there. Somebody fires at you, man, take him out. That's fair. But when you got a mentally ill guy on the street who just doesn't want to be talked to, leave him the hell alone. You're not going to make it better. I guarantee you.
Tabarrus made an overt movement with the object in his hand, and that's when the shooting occurred.
You liar. You shoot a man 5 times. You only think you fired 4 shots. 2 shots went through the wall and hit a civilian. You started shooting at 14 feet away. And then you took cover afterward.
He told him we were coming out as fast as we could to help him when he's wrestling for the gun.
Yeah.
Listening to this man's emotion is traumatic. You can tell he's traumatized. And he wanted to help. Why is it that the police so often feel like they're on their own when they're not? Or maybe their ego's taking place and they got to figure out, I got to get in there and do this on my own. You see a lot of single car police officers in Huntington Beach. Not going to work. Where Heidi says he had the wherewithal to start his body cam in the middle of a fight on the ground with a suspect, while he's using both hands to defend himself and make sure that his gun gets covered. Somebody turn that body cam on. And there's somebody that's not here that could probably tell the truth about that. That's 14 feet away. Not a few feet, as the DA or assistant DA mentioned. It was 14 feet away. And what people don't know is the last shot actually missed Tabarrus's head. And that's the one that went through the wall at 7-Eleven. They know this. So Esparza says, in my mind, I knew he was a radio call waiting to happen. So he's going to be a future radio call, so I try to stop those people before they become a bad radio call. So basically, Eric Esparza becomes judge, jury, and executioner. And everybody signs off on that. How does that happen in America? How the hell does that happen in the United States? This is Esparza's statement right here. There you go, right there. This is where Esparza states that, I remember I kept looking at him. So when he turned around, I'm like, okay, he's going to run. Body cam, Heidi? Body cam? Now? Do it now? That's what I sensed. We had actually kind of joked around about it in briefing because we had a couple guys get away from us last week. Esparza wasn't going to let Tabarez get away today, did he? My response to about half the chief's critical response. I have not lied. I have given you evidence. I've showed you what's going on. You make up your own minds about this guy. I'm sorry, but that's what's happening here. When we start to value an ideology more than we do human life, this is what's going to happen over and over and over again. Minorities are going to get attacked on the beach because that's part of the ideology that's passed down in Huntington Beach. I'm going to break down the other half because there's a lot of information here. And Heidi, really, you should stop doing what you're doing because you're not that good at it. But anyway, more will be revealed. I guarantee it. Well, this just in, 6 police officers wounded in active and ongoing standoff with a suspect in Philadelphia today. I kept thinking to myself, well, should I put this out there? And I thought, this is why you put it out there. I don't want good officers or even bad officers getting hurt. But I don't want civilians shot down on the street. I don't see a monument to them either. Come on. This is big news. 6 officers wounded. Well, got news for you guys. Since Ferguson, 5,000 people have been shot by police officers and killed in the United States. Probably half unarmed. Now, I have sympathy for this and the CHP officer. I do. But until they stop being so damn dysfunctional and talk about what's really going on, then this is what's going to happen over and over and over again. I want it stopped. I want to see police officers stop getting killed. I want to stop seeing mass shootings. I want to stop seeing a mentally ill guy getting gunned down on the street. I want to stop seeing minorities getting wailed on at the beach by overzealous rookies who don't know what the hell they're doing, as evidenced by tasing a guy, that didn't need tasing. God bless everybody tonight, because we sure need him right now.